Hey everybody, thanks for joining the final session of the day for GCon 360. We have a really exciting presentation for you today from the guys from Smartsheet. It's Google Drive add-ons, reducing risk and saving time. So before we go ahead and get started, I did just want to mention that we're doing questions through the Q&A app inside the Hangout on Air. So if you're interested in asking questions, please click on the little grid at the top of your screen. There's like 8 dots there that you can click on, and it should switch back and forth between the Showcase app and the Q&A app. So if you want to ask questions, you can do that there. And if you're interested in the free giveaways that we are doing as part of GCon, that we're doing all day and for the rest of the week, please stay tuned towards the end of the presentation where we'll make the link available to the form that you can fill out. So that should take just a minute or two to fill out. So please stick around towards the end of the presentation to fill that out. So now I want to go ahead and turn it over to Alex and Scott from Smartsheet, who have, like I said, a great presentation prepared for you guys on Google Drive add-ons. So Alex and Scott, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks a lot. Hey, GCon, super happy. It's the second time GCon has us over. First round was a couple of months ago, a few months back. Would love to tell you guys more about what we're doing and do a deep dive on Google add-ons. So I am Alex Vorobiev, and I am from the platform team at Smartsheet.
And I'm Scott McAllister. I'm also from the platform team and a software developer on the platform team.
So let's talk about add-ons, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Add-ons are a way, as you probably know, to extend Google applications. It's available today with Docs, Forms, and Sheets, and add new capabilities and new features to it. And anybody can do it. So third-party developers can come on board and build new add-ons. They're instantly available to the Google community. The cool thing about add-ons is that they're super easy to install. They run on top of the existing Google applications, don't require additional environments or server. It feels like super native. So Scott, I think the folks that are on the call on GCon probably know the let's just context set it, just go over the basics, just in case.
Sure.
And talk about what they are and what they look like, what a user experience would be when somebody wants to install them.
For sure. So we at Smartsheet have developed 2 different add-ons, and one of them is for Google Docs, and it's called Smartsheet Merge. And so in Google Docs, if you wanted to get the add-on or any other add-on, you would open up your doc, and if you're not familiar with where the add-ons are discovered, can be a little hidden. And you can come here, you can say get your add-on, and in our situation,
so it pulls up like a marketplace, right? So it's like a separate marketplace for add-ons.
Right. And these are only for Docs. The ones that you see here are just for Google Docs. Google Sheets also has a marketplace, and as does Google Forms.
And they're all separate.
They're all separate.
Okay.
And so when you go to install, it'll ask for permission to various parts of your Google Drive account, and then it will install the add-on. And you're off and running. It puts it in this menu.
So how do you launch it?
And they all have a link that'll, some will have sidebars like ours does, others will have their own functionality.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty straightforward. So I personally love add-ons. I love them as a user. I love them for 2 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I love them, number 1, because if there are any feature gaps in Google applications, and let's be honest, there are probably a few, right, in Sheets and Docs and stuff, then somebody can come along and they can actually fill that gap. They can create a feature, an add-on that addresses that specific need.
Yeah.
But the second reason I really like it is because ISVs like ourselves, like third-party companies like Smartsheet, can create add-ons that actually help users to pull the data from their applications into Google Apps.
Right.
Right. So I think that's super useful.
Oh, and it's great for us because it also gets our our name out. A lot of people use Google Drive, but not a lot of people other your product.
It's a way for us to get in front of millions of customers, right?
Exactly.
So for that reason, like ISVs like Smartsheet love it because A, it's a way for us to market our products, get it in front of people. And the other reason we love it is because it's super easy for users to install, right? As you've seen, you've gone through this process. They go to the add-on marketplace, they search for what they need, they install it, deploy it almost instantly. So for us, it's great. It's this friction-free experience that we really benefit from, right?
Right. Hey, Alex.
I think it's great for us.
Alex and Scott, guys, can I jump in for a second?
Sure.
So we're having some trouble seeing your screen right now.
Oh.
Can we see if we can get that set up? I know we're having a couple of difficulties there. Let's see what we can do to get that set up.
All right, how's now?
That's great, guys.
Great. Sorry.
All right, cool. So we were talking about the add-ons and how easy it is for users to actually deploy them. ISVs like Smartsheet and others that are in our marketplace today love it because it's a very friction-free experience, right? But you know what? I was thinking about it the other day. I was in very different shoes a few years back, right? In my past life, I was a domain admin.
Oh, okay.
So I was wearing a different hat.
Yeah.
And from a domain admin's perspective, this kind of friction-free sort of Wild West experience may not be necessarily such an exciting thing where users can just go and they find third-party add-ons and they can add on to their environment and
install what they want rather than what you want, right? As a domain administrator, you want to have control over what you're.
Yeah. I mean, I think the natural question that people would have is, can you trust them? Yeah. Can you trust these add-ons? Because I bet a lot of admins, domain admins, aren't really intimately familiar with the process of actually building and publishing. Mm. And we've been through this a couple of times, right?
Right.
Maybe first and foremost, what we can do, we can give them kind of a window into how the process works, because they're probably wondering, does Google do any kind of quality checking?
Yeah.
Any kind of security checking on the stuff that gets published into the marketplace, right?
Absolutely.
So can we talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So when we developed our add-ons, as we mentioned before, we do one for Docs, one for Forms. The first time you publish an add-on publicly, it gets submitted to Google for review. When you set to deploy it and publish it to the Chrome store, they actually will go through a review process where your add-on goes in front of a Googler, and they have full where they can check it for malware, if it generates spam, things of that nature, and also if it meets Google's UI guidelines, so it looks like it fits inside of Drive. And so every single add-on that you see in that marketplace has gone through that review process. So you can rest assured that it's gone through at least a level where some eyes have looked at it.
Well, that certainly makes me feel better.
Right.
Right. So there's some general checking. There's and if, I assume if they find the add-on to be doing something mischievous, it's going to get kicked out. Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's good. So other than knowing how the process works, so to speak, right? Do you think, just based on your experience, are there any kind of general best practices that domain admins can employ so they can they're looking at this marketplace,
sure,
and they've got this list of potentially hundreds of add-ons in there. It's not entirely obvious, at least on the outset, what is good quality, what is credible, what is something you can trust, and what is not. Like, are there tools they have at their disposal that they can use?
So so domain administrators and users in general can have tools available to them that Google provided inside of the Chrome web store. And let's take a look at that here. We go back to our example account that we were just for the Chrome store, the add-on store. We come here and we see this. We have a wide variety of add-ons that we can look at, and we may or don't know what they do or if they're credible, like you said. So there's a few things you can look for. Let's take our friends over at Lucid Charts. So we'll look at their add-on here. they have a rating system over here where users can come in and they can rate their experiences out of 5 stars. And then here we have a number of the people who have rated it. So we have 1,000 people, 1,100 people who have used this add-on and who have vetted it and who have given their opinion. Plus over here we have this total number of users who have installed it. So over almost 300,000 users have installed this add-on. So
as opposed to another add-on that's got like maybe 10 people.
Right. So you don't know if the ones that's brand new may not have as much credibility.
What about reviews themselves? Can you actually see? Is it just ratings, or can you actually see what people say? Okay.
Sure.
So you can actually read about the people's feedback, and if there are any issues or concerns they've identified, right?
Exactly.
And have contributed here, that you can see it.
Exactly. And so you can see that most of the people here obviously really like Lucidchart and their add-on. What's also nice about this page is down here at the bottom, you can vet the company that is producing the add-on. So you have a link to their website and also a link to their support page. You can kind of give an eyeball, a quick look, say, oh, Lucidchart, okay, they look pretty credible. Yeah. But you can also do more investigation that way.
Yeah, you can always do additional due diligence and do some of your basic, Google search sleuthing and make sure that there aren't any reports of malicious activity around a specific add-on or a company that's produced them, right? So just common sense stuff.
Exactly.
Right, and I typically advise people before they deploy an add-on is to go through sort of these paces and make sure they've checked all the boxes.
Right.
So that's cool. That's helpful. But let's say you're an admin and you're still concerned about certain things, but you're still concerned about users in your organization deploying the add-ons. Mm-hmm. It could be a number of reasons, right? Maybe they're not necessarily malicious, and you're okay with the level of scrutiny that Google employs, right? But data leakage, that could happen, mm-hmm. intentional or unintentional, right? Somebody hooks up a third-party add-on, some sensitive information could end up outside of the organization.
Potentially.
The add-ons may not necessarily be compatible with some of the compliance policies you have inside your org, right? And the list goes on and on and on, right?
Right.
So are there any tools that they have that they can use to sort of exercise some control over that experience?
Absolutely. Right? So in the admin console, domain administrators have always been able to turn off the installation of add-ons. And so if we go to our admin console here for Google Apps, we can come here to our Google Apps area. Oh.
Another security feature
exactly.
that locks you out, right?
Exactly. So Google definitely keeps things secure. But you go to your drive settings and data access area, and here we can allow or disallow add-ons. And so what you can do is if you, as an administrator, feel squeamish about, well, I don't know if I want to give full access to install anything users want, I'm going to go ahead and unselect that and save the changes. That way, domain administrators can have at least some control on what's going on. So up until recently, this is all you could do. You could either say yes, turn on add-ons, no, turn them off, and that's it.
And I bet some people in the audience actually already take advantage of that, right?
Sure.
If they want to make sure things are a little bit more locked down. Mm-hmm. But what seems to me, and it's a good option to have at your fingertips. But what seems to me, it feels like a pretty blunt instrument, right? You can either turn it all on and sort of be concerned users put in, installed in your domain, or you can lock it down completely. And I don't know that's the best option, right? Because you may hinder productivity. There are some people probably in your organization you want to let install the add-ons, and maybe others not so much. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of harsh, right? I mean, it's kind of a hammer, kind of to which everything looks like a nail, right?
Right. And as an administrator, you want to be secure, but you want to provide tools that will allow your users to get things done, whether they're students, employees, whatever.
So it sounds like up until recently, that's kind of been the only option, right?
Right.
Okay. So what has changed?
So Google recently has allowed add-on developers to make their add-ons available in the Google Apps Marketplace so that you can install them domain-wide. And so Google Admin, Google, and provide that or install the add-on for the whole domain, while still keeping the individual installation of add-ons under lock and key, as they say.
Okay, so you can prevent so essentially everyone in your organization from individually installing add-ons.
Right.
But then you can go as an administrator, you can go in and pick and choose the specific add-ons that you think will benefit your organization, and you can go through the vetting process.
Right.
Right? And then can make that decision, and then you can, so it sounds like you can sort of seamlessly provision it across your entire domain.
Exactly.
Right? Can you
Sure.
walk
Yeah,
through that?
let's show that a little bit. So we showed just how to turn off add-ons. So this turns off the individual installation of add-ons. But if we wanted to provide an add-on for the whole company or the whole organization, we would come back up to our apps and go to the Marketplace apps section of the admin console. We'd add a Marketplace app just like we would do if we were going to install one for or an app for the domain. And then say we really like that Smartsheet merge add-on.
But for let's say for the Smartsheet merge add-on to show up here in the GAM listings, the ISV, like the company that builds the add-on, they need to do something special, right?
They do. So the add-on developer has to make it available inside of the Google Apps Marketplace. So it's not just the regular publishing process. They have to do an additional step where they make it available, tie it to a project inside of the GAM.
So is it safe to say that not all add-ons will be available today in this fashion?
Right. From what I understand, yeah, they won't all be there. But I've also, as I've watched the various reactions of the add-on community, once this feature became available, a lot of developers wanted it. A lot of add-ons becoming available.
So it's kind of early in the process, but the number of add-ons available like this in this kind of fashion, it's growing up. It's going up.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go through that and see what actually happens.
So as an administrator, you go through the process where you decide what permission you allow the permissions of the add-on for your domain, so you know exactly where it's accessing or what it's accessing.
Okay, so you go kind of through a similar process, except the outcome is that it gets installed across the entire org.
Exactly.
Right?
The nice thing is they provide this little interface at the end to tell you as the administrator, hey, by the way, you can tell your users this is where they can find the add-on.
Oh, cool. And so, here it is. So step 2 of 2, it actually shows you that if where to find that add-on if you're not familiar with it for some reason, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And so, and then when that's done, you can, as a user, go into your account, we create a Google Doc, and then our add-on will be here. Now, since this isn't the first time we've made this add-on available for this domain, we don't see a message. But if it's the first time you make it available, you'll actually see a message on the screen telling you, hey, by the way, your administrator just installed this add-on.
So the kind of pop-up kind of comes up and says, hey, there's a new add-on that your admin has installed you can take advantage of. And it shows up, and it would show up immediately in that menu for you, right?
In this, over here, yeah. There's actually a message in the admin console that tells you, you might have clicked past it already, but it says it takes it an hour. It'll show up sometime within the hour. Okay. And so Google definitely has to take a minute to proliferate the messages to their various users.
But then every person in the org will see this, right?
Right. When they go to Google Docs, so that once he opens a Google Doc, they'll see the message that an add-on.
Okay, cool. Cool. So that's an add-on that needs to be enabled for domain-wide install by the developer, right? And it can be found in the GAM marketplace along with other GAM apps. What about, is there another option that's available?
There is. So developers who have created GAM apps and add-ons could also bundle those add-ons to be part of the GAM app. So if you have a GAM app and you have an add-on, you could take that project and make it so that the add-on installs with the GAM app.
Okay. So, like for example, the Smartsheet GAM app has been in the marketplace for a few years now, and we kind of went through a similar experience with our Drive app, right? At first, it used to be a standalone thing in the Chrome marketplace, and then this option was made available to us where we could add the Drive app to our main GAM app, and sort of became this one thing, and all the admins had to do is go through this one installation process, right, to deploy both. Is that similar?
Yes, it's essentially how it happens, where it's a seamless installation experience for the domain administrator and for the users, because you'll see the GAM app show up and you'll see this add-on when you go inside of Google Docs.
Right, and obviously, again, with bundled GAM apps and add-ons, it's the developer that needs to take additional steps,
right,
to make it available in this fashion, right? It doesn't just magically happen.
No, so there are additional steps to take from the development process, but Google has great documentation in their add-on developer website to provide instructions on how to do that.
Okay, and again, just because it takes additional steps, I don't think we can expect every GAM app made by every single partner, Google partner, to become available with add-ons, right? It's going to be a process. We're still in the process of adding it to ours, right?
Right.
So I think it's going to take. I think it's going to be a very compelling way for Google partners, to deliver kind of a combined, seamless experience for domain administrators. So when the domain admin goes in and tries to install a GAM app, they get the whole, all the other add-ons and the extensions with it, and they immediately provision across the entire organization. The other thing that I learned about bundled add-ons is that it's not only for the net new users that deploy your GAM app,
right,
but also it's retroactive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for any existing users you may have, would also sort of get it for free if the developer chooses to add an add-on or package a bundle add-on with their GAM app.
Yeah, and that is a very cool feature that Google made it possible, because then it makes it easy to get the add-ons out there if you have a long-established GAM app that's been out for a while.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so hopefully this has been helpful. Why don't we switch to showing our beautiful faces.
Cool.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. So Andrew, I think we're ready for some questions. We're happy to take some questions if there are any.
Questions here. Let's see. I've got a question here about the permission rights that an add-on asks for.
Sorry,
Specific to Google Drive. So could you guys talk a little when a add-on
He's gone. He's gone.
It's really frozen.
I'm going to go ahead and make the form available for the free giveaways for the new Chromebook Pixel. So if you guys have a chance to check out the Showcase app over there on the right-hand side of your screen, you can go ahead and enter in your information there to enter some of the free giveaways. So can you guys hear me okay at this point over there, Alex and Scott? Are you guys getting any audio?
Yeah, we are. It's much better now.
Okay, great. So the question that I wanted to get to was when somebody's asking about permission, when an add-on is asking about permissions for when it's being installed. So, for example, it wants to view or manage your docs in Google Drive. What does that mean exactly, and why would an add-on be asking that?
So an add-on, if they wanted to view and manage your docs, so if it's going to make any changes to a doc, or if it's going to create docs, read docs in any way, it would need permission to do that. For instance, Smartsheet Merge needs that permission because what it does is it takes your doc that you have open as a template and then makes a copy of it and takes Smartsheet data and puts it in it. So it has to access your drive to create the doc, but it also has to read the doc you have, and then it's writing to that doc that it's creating. So that's why it would need those permissions.
But not every add-on would need those kinds of permissions, right? It really depends on the scope of the add-on, what it does.
Right.
There are some that just pull information into Google applications, and they don't necessarily manage any Google files. They probably don't need anything like that, right?
Right, and so that's why when you're installing the add-on, you have those permissions laid out in front of you. These are the different things that it's going to need access to, that the add-on will do. So it gives you all the potential things it will need access to.
Right. But it's a really good point that whoever's asking the question is brought up. It's another thing that you need to pay attention to, right?
Right.
You need to pay attention to the permissions that add-on is asking for, and you need to feel good about what you're granting them permissions to do.
Exactly.
Right. So I think it's a really valid point.
Yeah, and I think that Alex made a good point that if when you're checking out those permissions, if something seems a little off, that's just something to be aware of. If something's asking to write on your behalf or download information and that doesn't feel right, then that's just something that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk to other users. Reach out to the add-on developer.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel that the value proposition of the add-on is compelling, there's no reason why you shouldn't do additional due diligence, right? Don't write it off right away, even if though those permissions may seem odd. Give it a chance, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's calling the shots, right?
So we have another question here asking about HIPAA regulations and add-ons, and how do those add-ons specifically comply with HIPAA regulation? I know you guys can't comment on all add-ons, but maybe you can say a little bit about if you guys have experience with HIPAA and add-ons.
You know what? So I'm going to take that question. I don't think we have a ton of experience with specifically what owns in HIPAA. I think it comes down to a couple of things. One, if there's a third-party application that's in the equation, right? If the add-on is actually bridging between Google Apps and another app, you have to make sure that that third-party app is HIPAA compliant, if that's your concern. And then in terms of the add-on itself, while it lives on the Google environment and the Google infrastructure, so you should be able, by virtue of that, to check a lot of boxes off around security concerns and potentially even HIPAA concerns. But it's kind of more of a speculation on my part. I think you should do your own research. You should reach out to the add-on developer, find out more, and potentially find out more from Google. It's a great question.
Another kind of just general add-ons question, I think, is maybe just kind of establishing the value of add-ons. How would you guys pitch an add-on to somebody that's already written off Drive as a solution? Maybe they're stuck using Microsoft files and they don't really want to make the switch to Google Drive. How would you kind of establish that value of add-ons as something literally added on to Google Drive?
I would actually use add-ons as the pitch to use Drive, because if you look at Drive and you say, yeah, it's kind of like Word, but then you can add all this stuff onto it. You have these third parties that have added these tools onto it, and this great developer community that provides functionality that Google might have missed or isn't going to cover for their user base. So I think add-ons provide a great value to Drive and for people to use it as far as with other apps.
Yeah, I would add if the customer's already made a decision and there's absolutely no way to change their mind, there's not a whole lot you can do. But if there's a way to reconsider, then certainly add-ons and the rich ecosystem and the partner ecosystem around Google Drive is certainly one good reason to do so.
Great. I think that's all the questions that we are going to get to for right now. So I wanted to mention again that the form is in the Showcase app for you guys to fill out for the free giveaways. I also wanted to go ahead and thank Scott and Alex for taking the time to join us today for their presentation.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for the first day of GCon 360. We do have 5 more presentations tomorrow, so I hope to see all of you tomorrow as we continue the next day of GCon 360. So thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow.